My name is Sarah Jenkins, and I was 33 years old the night my parents fired me from my own family via group message. It arrived exactly at 7:42 on a Tuesday evening. There were 12 people on the text thread, and the message simply said, "We think it's best you step away for now." My Aunt Susan reacted to the message with a thumbs-up emoji. That little yellow cartoon hand sat under those devastating words like a permanent stamp of approval. I sat at my kitchen table, reading it over and over until my phone screen went completely dark. Then I wrote back, "Understood. I'll respect that and I will step away from the family fund too." That night, I logged into my bank and closed my monthly contribution. At 2:15 in the morning, my phone started buzzing. By sunrise, I had 89 missed calls. My dad's frantic voicemail was the only one I actually listened to. "What happened? The bank flagged everything," he panicked. I sent back a single, cold line of text. "I'm honoring your decision." But here is what none of my relatives knew that night. That family fund was the smallest burden I had been carrying. It would take my family exactly 1 month to uncover the rest of the truth, one painful piece at a time. Welcome back to the channel where quiet women finally say enough, and dark family secrets meet the harsh light of day. If you have ever been the one holding your entire family together while being treated like an outcast, this story is for you. Drop a comment below, and be sure to subscribe. I run a small bookkeeping office on Broad Street in Willow Creek, Pennsylvania. It's just 2 rooms above an old hardware store, my assistant Emma, and a coffee maker that has seen better days. Numbers are how I make my living, and honestly, they are how I make sense of people. A financial ledger never lies, and it never flatters anyone. It just tells you exactly what happened. I grew up just 12 minutes from that office, in a beautiful white house on Maplewood Drive. My dad, Arthur, spent 31 years as the service manager at the local Miller Chevrolet dealership. He was an old-school man who believed in hard work, oil changes, and going to church every Sunday. My mom, Martha, ran the women's ministry at Grace Community Church. She managed our family's public reputation the way a general commands an army. My brother Kevin is 3 years older than me. He runs a local plumbing business, is married to his high school sweetheart, Rachel, and has 2 kids. Kevin has a good heart, but absolutely no brain for paperwork or finances. Then there's Aunt Susan, my mother's younger sister, who has practically agreed with whatever my mother says since the 1970s. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. Sunday dinners, matching holiday photos, and a warm casserole for every grieving neighbor in town. I believed in our family the way you believe in a bridge you drive across every day. You don't inspect it, you just trust that it will hold your weight. 6 years before that infamous group text, a piece of neglected mail in a kitchen junk drawer showed me what my family actually ran on. It was Father's Day, 2020. The Chevrolet dealership where my dad worked had closed down that March. Corporate consolidation, they called it. Dad was 57, too young to collect Social Security, too old for anyone else to hire, and way too proud to admit he was terrified. After dinner, the TV remote died, and I went digging through the kitchen drawer for batteries. Underneath a pile of old takeout menus, I found a bright red envelope from the Monroe County Tax Office. It was already opened. Delinquent property taxes, $4,910 past due. I stood there in the kitchen, holding the batteries in one hand and my parents' secret in the other. Through the window, I saw my dad in the garage, wiping down a workbench. I walked out there and handed him the red envelope. He looked at it with pure defeat. "The buyout from the pension was almost nothing," he said quietly. "I'm behind on the county taxes, behind on the electric, and behind on a home equity loan." Then he said the sentence that would dictate the next 6 years of my life. "Your mother doesn't know how bad it is. She can't. You know how she cares about our reputation." We built a secret plan in that garage, just my dad and me. I opened a brand new checking account in my name only, and I nicknamed it the Family Fund. Every month on the 1st, exactly $2,400 would automatically transfer from my savings into my parents' account. It was timed perfectly to land right before their mortgage, electric bill, and insurance drafted. As for the massive property taxes, I paid those directly to the county myself, twice a year, so a red envelope would never arrive at their house again. Dad had only one strict condition. "Your mother can never know how much you're giving, and your brother can never know at all." I was 28 years old. I loved them, so I said yes. But here is the part that still blows my mind to this day. The cover story wasn't created by me, and it wasn't created by my dad. It was created by my mother. Within a month, Mom had announced a family fund to the entire extended family. She pitched it as a cheerful little charity pot for emergencies and holidays. "Everyone just pitch in what you can," she told them. Aunt Susan proudly put in $25 at Christmas and acted like she had saved the world. Kevin threw in $50 when his plumbing business had a good week. And whenever anyone at church asked how my parents were surviving after the dealership closed, my mother would smile her perfect smile and say, "Arthur's retirement investments did wonderfully." She never once asked me a single question about the bank account. In 6 years, my mother contributed a few casseroles and a catchy slogan, yet somehow, she became the manager of the entire narrative. 72 months. That is what 6 years comes to. $2,400 every single month. Quiet as a heartbeat. When their central heating died in 2022, my fund bought a new one for $6,100. When the roof started leaking, I covered the $4,800 repair. My fund paid for Mom's expensive arthritis medication. It paid their car insurance. It even paid off a business loan for my brother Kevin when his plumbing van broke down, though he thanked Mom and Dad for that, and they happily took the credit. Meanwhile, I drove a beat-up 12-year-old sedan and lived in the cramped, tiny apartment above my bookkeeping office. I kept telling myself that buying my own house could wait just one more year. I wasn't a complete fool. In year 2, I sat my dad down and begged him to tell Kevin the truth so we could split the financial burden. But my dad refused. He said if I exposed his failure, he would go to a predatory loan shark before he let my mother be embarrassed. So I stayed quiet and kept writing the checks. It held together for 6 years, until my brother decided he wanted to expand his business. It was Father's Day again. We were having a backyard barbecue at my parents' house. Kevin stood up, raised his glass, and proudly announced he was opening a second plumbing location. Everyone cheered. And then my mother, glowing with absolute pride, said, "And your father and I are lending him $25,000 from our savings to get it started." I sat completely frozen, staring at my paper plate. I knew to the exact dollar what my parents had in savings because I was their savings. That $25,000 did not exist. Or rather, it existed in the form of my future payments. They had just publicly promised my hard-earned money to my brother as if it were their own. I waited until the cake was cut. Then I pulled my parents and Kevin aside and said calmly, "Can we please talk about the logistics of this loan before any contracts are signed? Just the 4 of us." You would have thought I had flipped the picnic table over. Kevin's face turned bright red with insult. My mother's smile stayed frozen in place, but her eyes turned ice cold. "Not today, Sarah," she said through her teeth. "This is a celebration." 9 days of dead silence followed. Then, on a Tuesday night at 7:42 p.m., my phone lit up with the family group chat. "We've been talking as a family, and we think it's best you step away for now. We love you, but there's been a lot of tension since Father's Day, and everyone needs space. We hope you'll respect that." It was sent from my dad's phone, but it had my mother's manipulative phrasing written all over it. 12 people on the thread. My parents, Kevin, Rachel, Aunt Susan, cousins. Everyone. I was being exiled from my own family because I dared to ask a question about my own money. And then Aunt Susan hit the thumbs-up reaction. I laughed out loud in my empty kitchen. I typed my reply. "Understood, I'll respect that, and step away from the family fund, too." No begging, no arguing. If the family was voting me out, they couldn't keep the part of me that paid their mortgage. At 11:00 p.m., I opened my laptop. I canceled the $2,400 July transfer. I canceled the county tax e-check. I canceled the auto pay for Mom's pharmacy card. Each click was me taking back a year of my life. Here is what happens in the banking world at 2:00 in the morning. Banks run their overnight automated batches. That night, my massive transfer never arrived, so my parents' checking account was practically empty. The $512 home equity payment bounced, the electric bill bounced, the car insurance bounced, and every single failure fired off an automated text alert to my father's phone because years ago I was the good daughter who had set up his banking alerts. Insufficient funds, payment declined, action required, ping, ping, ping. At 2:15 a.m., my phone started ringing. Dad. I declined it. By morning, I had 89 missed calls, 41 from Dad, 26 from Mom, 15 from Kevin, 7 from Aunt Susan. I listened to my dad's voicemail. Sarah, call me back. What happened? The bank flagged everything, the house, the lights, all of it. Notice the phrasing. What happened? Not what did we do. They treated the money like a natural feature of the earth that had inexplicably dried up. I texted back. I'm honoring your decision. At 7:40 a.m., my father showed up at the front door of my office building, holding his cap in his hands like a beggar. He was trembling. Your mother doesn't know I'm here, he whispered. I made him coffee. He looked around my cheap, tiny apartment, realizing for the first time that the daughter who had given him $180,000 was living like a broke college student. He couldn't even form a sentence out of shame. I handed him a single sheet of printed paper. It listed every single bill I had been secretly paying. These are yours now, Dad, I said. Late payments are survivable. Pretending is what is too expensive. As he walked out, he stopped and said, She told everyone at church you had a mental breakdown. My mother went into full damage control. When her arthritis medication was declined at the pharmacy, she threw a fit, blaming it on a bank error. I quietly drove to the pharmacy later, paid for it in cash, and set it up to bill only me moving forward. Boundaries require a steady hand, but I wouldn't let her be in physical pain. By Sunday, I was officially a prayer request at Grace Community Church. Mom spun a tragic story that I was trying to control their finances and isolate them. The town showered her with pity and casseroles. Aunt Susan left me a voicemail lecturing me on how money had corrupted my soul. Then Kevin stormed into my office. Mom says you froze the family's money, he yelled. Everybody's fun just because your feelings got hurt. I stared at him. Kevin, in 6 years, how much money have you personally put into that fund? He froze. He did the math in his head. The $50 here, the $20 there, it was nothing. I didn't freeze everybody's money, Kevin, I said softly. I just stopped giving mine. Go ask your parents for the truth. A few days later, Dad asked to meet me at a diner on Highway 9. He slid a yellow flyer across the table. It was a predatory high-interest loan application, filled out in my mother's handwriting, using their paid-off house as collateral. She was willing to put them in massive, unrecoverable debt just to avoid admitting the truth to the town. I'm not writing checks in the dark anymore, Dad, I said. I have a plan, but it requires everyone in one room, daylight or nothing. I sent a text to the family group chat. Sunday at 4 p.m., Mom and Dad's kitchen. We are discussing the family fund. Everyone should come. When I walked into their house on Sunday, my mother had literally staged the room. She had placed a single empty chair in the center of the kitchen, facing everyone else, an apology chair. I'll stand, I said, ignoring the chair. I looked at my brother, my aunt, and my parents. And then I laid out the math. I exposed the $4,910 tax default in 2020. I exposed the $2,400 a month, the $6,100 furnace, the roof, all of it. In 6 years, I have paid a little over $180,000, I said firmly. Kevin's jaw dropped. He finally realized where his magical $25,000 business loan was supposed to come from. Aunt Susan sat down heavily, her face completely pale. My mother turned around from the kitchen counter, her eyes blazing with fury. She tried to hijack the narrative one last time. Are you finished? She spat. Because I would like to address Sarah's mental condition. She has been isolating herself and controlling your father's. Stop, Martha. My father stood up. In 63 years, I had never heard him yell. The entire room went dead silent. Every word Sarah just said is true, my dad confessed, tears in his eyes. Every number, every date, I hid it out of pride, and I am done lying. My perfectly composed mother completely shattered. I will not be a charity case in my own church, she screamed, crying hysterically. Do you know what they do to poor families? They pity you, I will not be pitied. I didn't yell back. I just placed a single sheet of paper on the table. It was a strict financial recovery plan. I would pay the immediate past due balance, but Kevin had to chip in monthly, Aunt Susan had to do the driving for medical appointments, and my parents had to meet with a housing counselor and sell the massive house by spring. Everything in the daylight, Mom. Or I walk away forever, I said. They sold the house that May for $212,000. They paid off their debts and downsized to a small, affordable 2-bedroom patio home. My mother told the church they were downsizing to simplify their lives, but the entire congregation already knew the truth. And guess what? The town didn't abandon them. As for me, I finally stopped paying for their lives, and I bought my own little brick house on Broad Street. I realized something profound. If a family only stands when you are financially standing underneath them, holding them up in the dark, that was never a home. That was just a weight. Real family is the place where you get to stand completely empty-handed, and they still want you in the room. That is my story. One group message, a thumbs-up emoji, and the 89 missed calls that finally set me free. If you are the one quietly holding your family together in the dark, I hope you heard this. Drop a comment below, and subscribe to the Last Chapter Stories for more.